Today, I prepared a very special, useful video. For many students, the subjunctive mood, in Portuguese, conjuntivo, can be quite challenging. It is usually taught at a more advanced level. However, many times, beginners need to express desire, hope, or situations that are doubtful, uncertain, and don't know how to do it. Subjunctive has three tenses in Portuguese: present, imperfect, and future. Despite being useful, it is also tricky to be used in the right way. So if you are a beginner or an intermediate learner, I am going to cover some easy and effective ways to express the same ideas and concepts without using the subjunctive in the present tense. These tips will be true game changers, magic words that you should learn and memorize so you can impress in daily conversations. If you like my content, don't forget to subscribe. I am a pure bilingual Portuguese American currently living in Santa Monica, teaching Portuguese for foreigners through my content on YouTube and Patreon and through my online lessons. E agora, vamos começar! One commonly used word in any language is maybe. You probably learned that talvez means maybe in Portuguese, and I'm sure you are tempted to use it very often. However, when talvez is followed by a verb, there is a high chance that the verb will need to be conjugated in the subjunctive. So how can beginners express a probability without using the word talvez? The trick is to replace talvez by se calhar. Se calhar means basically the same thing, and this way you can express your idea using the present tense of the indicative, the first tense you learn. Let's look at an example. If someone asks, "Ela ainda não chegou?" She hasn't arrived yet. If you want to respond, "She might be late," how would you say it? Let's start with talvez. Talvez esteja atrasada. In this case, we need to use the verb estar in the present subjunctive. But what if we use se calhar? Se calhar está atrasada. With the se calhar, you conjugate the verb in the present indicative. So if you are a beginner, the tip is to use se calhar instead of talvez. Next great tip is to use the adverb provavelmente, probably, to express probability without using subjunctive. It is widely used and very useful. Also, in this case, you can use the present indicative with provavelmente, while the impersonal expression é provável que, it's probable that, requires the subjunctive. So if you are a beginner, I suggest you use provavelmente instead of é provável que. Let me show you an example. Provavelmente ela está na praia. Here, we are using the present indicative of the verb estar. While if you use é provável que, you will need to change the verb to the present subjunctive. É provável que ela esteja na praia. Another useful adverb is possivelmente, possibly. If you choose to pick this word instead of é possível que, it's possible that, you can avoid the use of the subjunctive. So if you want to express there is a possibility that you might go to the doctor next week, how would you say it using these words? Let's start with possivelmente. Possivelmente vou ao médico para a semana. I am probably going to the doctor next week. In this case, you can use the present indicative. Now, if you decide to use é possível que, you will need to say é possível que vá ao médico para a semana. So also in this case, if you aren't comfortable with the subjunctive yet, I suggest you use possivelmente over é possível que. I have another tip to help you use impersonal expressions, such as é provável, é possível, é boa ideia, é bem pensado, without the use of the relative pronoun que, that triggers the subjunctive. These expressions, when followed directly by a verb, can be a good option to avoid the subjunctive, since you can use the infinitive form of the verb instead. You can use these expressions in the affirmative or negative. It doesn't change the sentence structure or the conjugation of the verb. Let's see some examples. É provável que chova no fim de semana. Não é possível que o exercício esteja errado. In this case, we're using the subjunctive. É provável chover no fim de semana? Não é possível o exercício estar errado. In this case, much easier, we're using the infinitive verb. Now let's talk about wishes and desires. Espero que, I hope that, desejo que, I wish that, require the subjunctive because of the que. Therefore, a great tip to avoid the que is to build the sentence with the infinitive form of the verb instead. Espero que esteja tudo bem contigo, with the subjunctive. Espero estar tudo bem contigo, infinitive. You can also use the verb gostar in the imperfect form followed by the infinitive form to replace the expression I wish that. Gostava de estar contigo em breve. When you are not certain about something, you need to use subjunctive. However, if instead of saying I don't think that's true, não acho que isso seja verdade, you can rephrase it by saying I think that is not true. Acho que isso não é verdade. And in this case, you use the indicative present. I hope you found this video useful. I know how challenging the subjunctive can be, and these tricks can really help build your confidence to speak about things that usually would require the subjunctive. Don't forget to subscribe and to leave me a comment. I love to hear from you guys. Adeus, até a próxima!